is the meeting that we go through our reorganization following town meetings each year. I'd like to welcome to our crew here for the school committee. We have Joe Osceola, who was elected for Chatham. So we welcome Joe to our group. And we would like to open it to nominations for chair.
I nominate Donna Richardson.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Well, hearing none, all those in favor of Donna being the chair for the next year?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, that's an easy one. That would be unanimous. My duties are done. Okay, Ms. Chair, take over.
Be careful what you vote for. Okay, I'd like to, again, welcome Joe and Terry and Joanne, who were reelected. And with that, I'd like to open up nominations for vice chair. Yep.
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Jackie Macy's, no, it's not Macy's as in the store, Jackie Macy's Z. Brett Long for vice chair. What was that?
Second.
She seconded.
Oh, the seat, no.
You can just move over to the end, maybe.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, so all in favor of Jackie being vice chair?
Aye.
Opposed? So Jackie, welcome to vice chair. Oh, thank you.
It's the vice chair that actually brings the coffee to the organizational meetings.
Coffee and the comedy.
And the donut.
Wow.
Thank you. All right, then since the approval of the minutes, is there any questions about the minutes? Yes, Ms.
I move
Scott?
to approve the minutes from May 10th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved.
One abstention, I wasn't here.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we have public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? No? Okay, and then we'll move on to the next item with the student representative report with Grace Boyle. Oh.
So glad you guys all came to watch me speak. Thank you. We missed you, Grace.
Hello, my name is Grace Boyle, and for the next roughly 2 weeks, I'm a senior here at Monomoy. I am very excited to be telling you about all the excellent things going on here. We are currently in the heat of scholarship season, and the very generous Dollars for Scholars has been working closely with the senior class. Together, we organized the newly annual Dollars for Scholars Hoopathon to raise funds for a multitude of scholarships offered to graduating Monomoy seniors. Over 20 students were shooters in the Hoopathon, and others that are less athletically gifted, like myself, were rebounders. A great amount of money was made, and $500 was donated to the senior class for raising the most money, which we are going to make into a continuing education scholarship. The Monomoy Key Club attended their second annual Key Club District Educational Conference on Friday, April 6th to Sunday, April 8th in Springfield, Massachusetts. DCON is the annual gathering of Key Clubbers from all over New England to celebrate the closing of the service year and the start of a new one, with educational workshops, service, and elections. The Monomoy Key Club received the Early Bird Award for paying our club dues early. The whole experience was a great way for our club to see what other clubs in our district are doing and gain a new perspective on how our hard work helps communities, children, and families all around the world. A new office has been elected to our chapter of Key Club, including Perry Como, Cameron Archibald, Samantha Mahoney, Kathleen Prescott, and Molly McKenna. The school council, which is comprised of students, teachers, community members, and Mr. Burkhead, has been working hard all year to create a new school improvement plan for 2018 to 2021. This coalition is awesome because it allows students, parents, and the administration to work together to decide how we want our school to operate. Everyone having a voice is so extremely effective and appreciated. High schoolers went to the annual energy fair to teach science to middle schoolers. Ms. Andriola and Adrian Kotowski worked very hard to organize this year's fair. It included 20 stations with topics varying from residence to electricity. This allows high schoolers to contribute to the learning of younger children, which is very rewarding. High schoolers also took initiative in organizing the Democratic gubernatorial debate at Monomoy Regional High School. The young Democrats of Monomoy wrote the questions, grilled the politicians, and yours truly moderated the debate. This was a really unique experience, and we were able to be directly involved in the democratic process, heightening our own efficacy. Thank you to Mr. Dixon. Kyle Charlot also took initiative to get involved in the democratic process by speaking at the town meeting. He asserted that the town should provide funding to finish the snack shack out by the turf, and it ended up bringing the issue to a winning vote that night. The student body is very proud to have one of our own peers have such a mammoth influence. Commit Day, May 1st, has come and gone. All the students who plan to attend college have chosen and committed to their school. To the best of my knowledge, no one had to put down 2 deposits, which is good. Everyone is excited to explore the world and continue their education, whether they're going to Bridgewater or to Texas. Emma Mon also officially signed her letter of intent to play field hockey at Stonehill College. The 8th and 9th grade trip to London seemed amazing. The students were surrounded by a different culture, which is so incredibly important at our age. Being immersed in something so different widens our perspective on the big world beyond our little island. They hit tourist attractions like the London Eye and the Castle of Versailles. I was so jealous scrolling through the photos on Twitter. Prom was also beautiful this year. The class of 2019, as well as Ms. Casey and Dr. Otto, have done an amazing job fundraising for, planning, and pulling off such a wonderful night. Everyone had a great night, and the highlight may have been when Veronica Simonson and Sam Eustace won Prom Queen and King. AP exams have come and gone, thank goodness. Our teachers have done a great job preparing us the whole year, and the students are very grateful for this chance to get college credit. The best part of exam weeks is definitely ending, and I'm so happy that it has passed. So much is happening in the arts right now. Monomoy National Arts Society contributed to Project Hope once again. The entire club contributed to a beautiful mural of 2 swans symbolizing hope. The ceremony was beautiful, with all of the murals from all the schools around Cape Cod on display. The Pops concert was also, as usual, wonderful, and the theme was through the decades. The concert was very lively and fun because they play popular high-tempo music that the audience can sing and dance along to. Additionally, Teresa Sharon Font was accepted to Art All-State. This is a highly selective art program that includes portfolio submissions, artist statements, recommendations, and an interview. Teresa will spend 2 days at UMass Dartmouth with students from all over Massachusetts learning about and creating art. Lastly, with the year coming to an end, there's a bunch of senior events that have gone on. Senior Arts Night was excellent. Monomoy's performing arts program is astounding each year, and this event is the perfect venue to celebrate it. The visual art was on display in the Lutz Gallery, and the performing arts started their performance after the art show at 7. And it was excellent. Also, boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, and baseball ended their seasons with their senior nights and are going off to playoffs. Also, the class of 2018 went off to New York City for their class trip last weekend. It was awesome, and we thank our awesome chaperones for being so patient with the tour company and the bus company. And we also got our refund, just so you know. Yes. Yeah, we got to relive our 8th grade trip that we went on in Harwich, which was an awesome last hurrah. Beach Day was the Monday after, which was excellent, and we thank the Harwich Fire Department for organizing that. And we are just extremely appreciative of all the support that everyone at Monomoy has given us these last 4 years. And lastly, we hope to see you at graduation, which is June 3rd. Finally, this is my last speech. I want to thank you for this opportunity to tell you about the great things happening at Monomoy and work on my public speaking. I've thoroughly enjoyed this experience. I'm sad to be leaving, but I'm very excited to be continuing my education at the University of Virginia. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
Gracie, it goes both ways. You've been a gift to us. Your ability to articulate, that smile, and your just sense of leadership. So our gift to the University of Virginia will be Grace Boyle.
Thank you so much.
Madam
Yes.
Chair. Grace, my sentiments also, just such a pleasure seeing you here every 2 weeks. Just a great job reporting everything going on. I don't know how everyone here continues to do all of it, but you report, you're loquacious, it's great. I'm going to miss you. I love seeing you around, so good luck.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, with the two-way recognitions that just happened, we'll continue with recognitions. Are there any others?
Just two quick ones. I want to recognize Bank of America that provided a grant for the JFK Museum in Hyannis. The museum is using that grant to cover transportation costs for high school students to visit the museum, and our high school will be having social studies students visiting there this June. I also want to allow our new, as of this July, assistant principal at Harwich Elementary School to just briefly introduce herself. So I want to just welcome Sharon Hughes to say a couple words to the committee, so you can go and recognize a new face.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon Keller Hughes, and I am the new Harwich Elementary School principal as of July 1st. I'm very excited to be here and to join the Monomoy team. I've been at Nauset for the last 7 years at Orleans Elementary, and began my teaching career about 22 years ago in the arts and literacy, then went into special ed, and then I've really enjoyed these last 7 years being the district mentor coordinator for Nauset. So I've worked at all 7 schools, helping veteran teachers and new teachers or new staff work together to have successful experiences with students and really promote student achievement and improving teacher practice. So always glad to help everyone in any way I can, and I'm glad to be here, and feel free to visit me this summer. I'll be at Hess. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, the next item is the Global Studies Service Trip to Tanzania.
You have a team assembling behind me. Just quickly, you have a long agenda. A year ago, you approved our trip to the Dominican Republic, which many of these young people went on, and it was a huge success, but given the amount that you have to do tonight, we did not bring a PowerPoint to show you about it. But we trust that you saw Principal Burkhead, Principal of the Year Burkhead's tweets and reports, and hopefully got a good sense of how successful that trip was. So what we're here tonight to ask you for is approval for our planned service trip for next year, which is planned to be to Tanzania, with your approval. This trip started with a meeting arranged by our Key Club with a representative from a girls' school in Tanzania, which has a fundraising body that's based in Newton, and which there are local connections to the board of that fundraising, which is how they came before us. And out of that, we inquired about the possibility of going and visiting them. And they actually have a relationship with a tour company that arranges just such tours, and that was the consensus of the students, that was the trip that we wanted to go forward with for next year. So I believe you had in your packets the details of the trip, and so really we're just here to answer any questions you may have and ask for your approval for this trip, and hopefully that you ask that you vote on it tonight, because we are hoping to make deposits on the trip by June 8th.
Can I, oh.
I know you can't see us, Donna, it's okay. Quick question, 12-day trip, is this fall over February vacation as well?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the students would miss 5 days of school. It's a little bit longer than we originally proposed, but the airlines actually only sell the group tickets on certain days, on certain flights, and so that the trip actually expanded a bit because of that. So it is, they would miss 5 days of school, but that is as well as over February vacation.
Thank you.
Okay. Terry, Mr. Russell?
Just once, Donna, and then it's Mr. Russell, please. There's a crowd here.
Really?
John, we have a daughter that's in Nairobi, and she's a Howard High School grad, and we had the treat last Christmas to spend a month with her, and that's just across the border, and it was the trip of our lifetime. So kids, fundraise your hearts out, and just look forward to it. It's just beyond the beyond.
Okay, and any, Ms. Stout?
You know I always have a question. I was very impressed with the agenda of all the things. They look like wonderful things. They don't look like things anyone would do if they happened to go to Tanzania on a trip. My only question is, I'm not really familiar with the safety of the area, and I have no idea. I mean, we just sent 8th and 9th grade to London. I don't know how it would compare with that.
So the there's a level 2 travel advisory to Tanzania, which is the same travel advisory as going to England, France, Italy, Spain, Belgium, places where we have sent kids. So it is a similar level of potential threat. Anytime we are overseas, there is potential that things happen. Of course, there's potential things happening here while we're here also.
Right.
So we have had a lot of discussion. We had a parent meeting last week in which we discussed this at length and had some follow-up as well. In terms of where we are specifically, the travel advisory mentions tourist sites, and where we're going is not a tourist site. The tourist sites are generally in the north and northwestern part of the country. We're in the eastern country. We will fly into Dar es Salaam, and the school where we will be doing our work is a town called Morogoro. It's about 4 hours from the capital, so it's very much in the eastern part of the country. So we can never say there's no risk. Of course, there's always risk, but there's no heightened risk, I believe, in terms of where we're going.
This is something to do with like an American school, or?
It is not. It is a school for Tanzanians, but it is supported by a nonprofit based in Newton.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh.
If possible, I would ask the chair to take a vote of the committee for approval.
Ms. Richardson?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the Monomoy Regional High School Tanzanian Adventure and Service trip for February 2019.
I would second that, or I beat you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the trip the motion is approved for the trip.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have fun.
One last point I would make very quickly, in terms of Global Studies program, we will be awarding our first diplomas at the graduation ceremony, our first Global Studies diplomas, based on the reports, the reports and presentations that have been completed by 5 seniors. And in fact, the presentations are happening tonight in 3 minutes in the auditorium. So unfortunately, of course, it doesn't work with your schedule, but perhaps, I don't know if we'll still be going when you're going on, when you're done, but you can stop by the auditorium. I always encourage that. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the grade 7 Washington DC trip for November.
really slick when you did it.
I felt
Really off to the side and. Probably need to plug the.
I don't want you to see what I'm doing yet.
Okay.
Secret.
Oh, good.
Keep going, keep going.
Don't organize anything. Oh, that was perfect timing.
Hi, folks. Thanks for having me. Sarah Kane, Latin teacher at the middle school, coming to ask for a blessing and support in the third annual trip to Washington, D.C., open to all grade 7 Monomoy students. We have some changes coming this year, but I think that's for the best. I think the kids do too. They had fun this year at the Capitol building, seeing the cherry blossoms in the busiest time in our nation's capital. And from a planning perspective, I appreciated the luck that we had, but I'd like to avoid the traffic at all costs. So I come to 2 new things, a new travel company and a new month of travel. I've investigated 3 companies proposal-wise for this trip and took the best offer and the fastest responder and the best online presence and came up with Explorica, a Boston-based travel company used by my foreign language colleague at the middle school, Jen Walter, when planning her Puerto Rico trip last year. It allows families to see a countdown to the trip, 178 days to the proposed trip, by the way. Have a tour diary of pictures and descriptions of what's happening. See the itinerary beforehand for some of our more curious, anxious, excited students, and manage payments on their own rather than calling and going through the travel company. A similarity they have to the former company we used to use, World Strides, is that they do have hotel partnerships with nighttime security, fingerprinted, background checked there, all the hours that I'm supposedly going to get sleep. We also have a nice difference in our tour director. Before it was a guide who we met on the first morning we were there. This person meets us at entry into the city on the first night and takes us around right away. So this sort of staying in the hotel, waiting for the first day isn't there anymore. And he or she or they, if we have 2 buses, stay with us in the hotel and manage anything and everything the whole time we're there, the same person. I appreciated having someone for everything with World Strides, but consolidating that into one person is saving us money and me stress. So far, so good on that. We chose November, a weekend before Thanksgiving, and the 2 days of school before the Thanksgiving recess to protect the academic integrity of the school year. Those days are exciting in school for students. Maybe not as rigorous as missing 2 days in April or May in the MCAS testing season. So we are trying to switch to a compromise to keep colleagues and families happy on my end. Our planning team remains the same. Myself, Jen, and Mr. Wilson, dabbing in front of the White House there. Sorry, Mr. Wilson. Oh, I couldn't. We still want all the same things as we have in the past 2 years. We want grade 7 before they come up to the high school and get sent to Tanzania to experience a few nights away from home, see what it's like off Cape. And so far in just a few weeks that we've been working with Explorica as a planning team partner, beyond thrilled. The nightmares have stopped already. The numbers, I think I sent this to you, so it's still 3 nights over 4 days. We've added an extra half day of touring, so I'll get into what that means for the itinerary soon. We're going to keep our goal of 70 students, which is 2 buses, 2 comfortable buses, I would say. As of today, 6 days after this got rolled out to the current 6th grade, 11 families have committed to the trip. I think that's amazing, seeing how there hasn't even been a paycheck between then and now, and a $100 deposit is due, so that's saying something. We have a 1 to 10 chaperone to student ratio, so I'm in. We'll add more as needed. Monomoy staff of all shapes and sizes. Our cost this year is $692 per student, and Explorica has already graciously included a $50 scholarship for every student who signs up before the end of the school year. If they sign up after that, that number, of course, will not include the scholarship and increase by $50. It includes everything, even gratuities that weren't included in previous trips. And if you look in the red at the bottom there, the cost is sort of in the middle of the past 2 trips, although it's sort of on the same time scale and itinerary as last year's trip, so we're saving about $75 a kid, which I think is excellent. Some new sites this year, or new activities at old sites, I'd say, is that Monomoy currently has a reservation to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on the Monday that we're there. It's also scheduled to have a ghost tour of Arlington, Virginia, which I think will be fun. And with that extra time, one of the things we're adding is the Smithsonian Complex. I think that it's important each year to change up the itinerary as new sites open. The African American History Museum, for example, is not currently taking large groups, but changes their mind regularly. So by November, when foot traffic is low, we might sneak our group in, which I'm looking forward to. Dining remains the same. All meals are covered, breakfast, lunch, and dinner that were there. We're going to be home at 6 o'clock, and I can say that with authority because that was true this year, in time for dinner on Tuesday night and in time for Thanksgiving recess. Travel-wise, I'm currently negotiating the buses. So far, so good. We're looking at Cape destinations to sort of keep our relationship local that we have with the school, which is not something that was capable with World Strides. And again, the hotel stays the same with 4 students in a room, about half an hour outside of the city on the Maryland side, so that the trip home is not adding an extra city on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And again, it just has that night guard presence for us so that the chaperones and the tour director can get their well-deserved rest. Thank you for hearing the updates and the changes. Thank you for sending us 2 times. And thank you for thinking about sending us a 3rd time.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Long?
2, 1, thank you again for all of your work and your volunteering. To everyone who volunteers, it's extraordinary work and above and beyond. Second, simple question, and I think it's laid out here, but the $692 per student already includes that $50 scholarship.
Right.
So if they don't get that in on time, it then adds up to $742.
Right, so that's actually the cost of the company per kid, so they're
Okay.
gonna let us go at $692. So students who sign up after that will be at $742, but again, they have that built-in sort of GoFundMe page that's a lot more interactive than the company in the past that students can share over
Great.
the summer and sort of get automatic donations to their trip.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Dow.
I would just like to say that I'm so appreciative. My granddaughter went, and she just had a wonderful time. And the trip to the Holocaust Museum especially, there were many things. She liked the different monuments and all, but that was the thing that, for her, impressed her the most. But it was just a wonderful trip. And to I only have a small idea of all the work that goes into it. So, you know, I'm so grateful. All of us are very grateful for that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? We had public comment at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, I didn't realize you didn't allow specifics during the actual item on the agenda. I just had a comment to
I'll defer to whoever, I'm new at this. I thought the public comment was only allowed initially. Yes.
Typically, over the years, our meetings, we've only had public comment during public comment. We don't have public comment during our agenda items.
Okay, so it's different than a selectman meeting, where,
I guess, yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Are we making a motion on this one?
I'm sorry, old habits die hard.
Okay, all those in favor of supporting the,
Need a motion first.
oh, yes.
I move to approve the Monomoy Regional Middle School Grade 7 trip to Washington DC for the November 2018 trip. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of supporting the grade 7 Washington DC trip in 2018?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're on to London.
We're just going around the world
Wow,
tonight.
this
This
is
is
excellent.
excellent.
It's a great opportunity.
How do you like it so
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. For those of you who do not know me, I am Rachel Barnes. I'm the head of the English department. I promise that I actually do enjoy being here at Monomoy. In addition to traveling, you keep hearing about all of us wanting to leave. I do intend to leave, with your permission, of course, with students for one more journey to London, if that's possible.
We're just living vicariously through you.
Oh, that's handy. That's good. Well, it's certainly, I can see why, because the 2018 trip was amazing. The students really went and took in everything that there was to take in London. It was an extraordinary opportunity for all of the kids. Those were all of our students outside the Globe Theater. That was at the end of the trip, too, and they were still smiling, so you know it was a good opportunity. The things that they saw included everything that's listed there, and I know you can read, so I'm not going to read it to you. We certainly got in as many other things that we could work in as well. We did an evening where we did a Harry Potter tour of the City of London, and it was just such a great opportunity for all of our book fiends. And in fact, a number of our students had to stop at bookstores to buy the British copies of the book after that, because they are slightly different. So that was pretty exciting for our kids. So they learned a lot while they were over there. As you know, our grade 8 and 9 students do study World History 1 and 2. They also study a good deal of literature. But one of the things that's wonderful about London is it's a very international city. We were introduced to so many other cultures. One of the things that they've done is they've appropriated every other culture's food, and so we did as well, and it was delightful. We had curry, which is not unexpected. We even had our traditional bangers and mash on one of the first evenings. But we did try lots of different things, including Japanese noodle bars, which are their new hot trend over there, which is really fun. Another thing that they learned, obviously, is that experiences are more fun together. Part of the reason that students travel is to connect to other cultures, but one of the other wonderful side effects is that they connect with one another. It's a great way for our kids to come together and become part of the 620 that is Monomoy Regional High School. They learned how to ride the tube, which sounds terrifying if you think about the fact that I just took 24 children and put them on public transportation transportation during rush hour, and I didn't lose any of them. Notice I waited until I came back to propose doing this again. Unknown doesn't equal scary. They did everything together. It was an extraordinary opportunity for them to really kind of embrace the world instead of tremble about the world. They had to learn organization and scheduling. It is remarkable how many of them are waiting for you, moms and dads, to get them out of bed. They were up and ready to go every day. We made it everywhere on time. And in fact, one of the things that was a real pleasure, and I think it speaks volumes about our school district, is that our students were praised everywhere they went for, first of all, being timely, second of all, being organized, and third of all, representing their school and community beautifully everywhere they went. Those are skills that you don't get unless you get the opportunity to try them, and they mastered them beautifully, and they did our school proud. And finally, there is life beyond Cape Cod. We talked about getting them over the bridge. This is sort of the next perfect step for them to get them overseas, but there's no language barrier other than English and American English, where there's a few slip-ups from time to time, but for the most part, you can figure out what's going on. So why am I back here when I click on Hamilton Tire? This is actually on the furniture at Shakespeare's birthplace. They don't want anybody leaning on it, and I feel like that's very representative of me by the end of the trip. But Monomoy values global education very clearly. We have a global studies program. We have students who really deserve an opportunity to try to see what the world has to offer. It's a great spot for first-time travelers. And we want them to become students of the world, not just students of Cape Cod. So my proposal is, once again, London 2020. For grades 8 and 9, I would add the additional caveat that students who have not attended the trip, who are in grades 10 through 12, who could use this for global studies credit, will be given the opportunity to sign up and enroll as well. EF offers a WeShare program that allows them to design specific curricular course materials that are completed under the guidance of whichever teacher will sponsor them. In this case, that will be me, because I'll be taking them on the trip. They'll need to complete independent work, and it will need to come back and be approved by the Global Studies program. Aside from that, I really like the idea of it being for specifically grade 8 and 9. It's their opportunity to have something that's really for themselves. EF is willing to provide us with the same package we did this last time, which is a modest increase over this year's tour cost, and that's for 2 years out. There's a spring promotional discount of $200 coming up, which is part of the reason I'd like to start us in advance. That and 8th and 9th graders aren't traditionally known for having tons of money hanging around in their pockets waiting to splurge on a trip. I know they're going to need time to fundraise. I know they're going to need time to plan. So the sooner we can kind of roll out the idea of the trip, the more opportunities it gives for children and families to sort of make that dream come a reality for themselves. And I'm willing to take your questions, and I hope to receive your approval this evening. Thank you.
Yes,
My question is,
My head.
is there any limit to the number? I mean, if everyone happened to sign up, could they all go?
That would be a dream come
I'm
true.
sure. But you
This
mentioned
year, we
the
had
global
24
studies.
students attend
Yeah.
the trip. The first year, we had 16. I think that to some degree, this is a self-limiting trip because not everybody's feeling confident enough to do world travel at this age. This having been said, we can certainly take as, I don't think that they've actually capped it through EF, and I did ask them at one point if there was a cap. They said no, but that obviously, once you get above a certain number, they may have to change the planning so that you stagger the trips, so that some groups go at the start and another group, will come
Yeah.
afterwards.
Only reason I asked was because you said that some kids might need it for global studies credit, so I wondered if that was going to knock anyone out that might want to go from 8 and 9.
8 and 9 get priority for this particular trip because there are other global studies specific trips that are being offered. It's just, it was brought to my attention as we were going through the city this time that there are a number of students who have arts requirements for their global studies. That's the component they're focusing on. And since we do a lot of history, but we also do a lot with literature and art, it's a good fit for some of our students. It would not preclude 8th and 9th graders from attending.
Sure. Sounds great.
Mr. Russell?
Thanks.
Thank you, Donna. Rachel, the questions, it's probably best directed at guidance, and no one's here, but maybe Bill. I'd be interested, and I think the whole idea of causing kids to say yes to a foreign trip is fabulous. We've been up to this business for 2 or 3 years. I'd love to know, of our 620, how many youngsters have availed themselves and have been able to go in a variety of things? Granted, Global is brand newish as of this year, but what would the number of trips from the high school 8 through 12 be? And I know it's going to grow, but I'd be interested to know that. Secondly, and it's more a matter of some delicacy, and it affects all our trips, but similar to echoing what Sharon said, these youngsters somehow qualify to fall under the reign of global studies if they take a Dominican trip or a Tanzania trip. What if the demographics of a global studies kid, he can't come up with $3,500 or $31,000? In other words, what I'm getting at, if the global studies certificate is going to be something that we're going to push, and I think it's terrific, I think every kid should be able to go if they're in global studies. I don't know how, but certainly youngsters who come from families who can pick up with the kids' help, $3,500. That should not be a route in and out of a global studies program. So if part of 2 years out of 4 kids go on foreign trips, somehow or other, I guess it's up to us to make certain all the kids are able to say, yes, I want to be in this, and then figure out something. That was kind of an editorial.
That's okay. You had 2 questions there, and I'll
I don't even think there were 2,
backwards.
but-
The first one was about global studies, and I have to say that would be a question that was better directed to Mr. Dixon, who was here with the Tanzania program, because he's actually in charge of the global studies program. I can't speak to that because I don't actually serve on the global studies committee. What I do know is that there has been extensive discussion within that group about what to do if students cannot afford
Oh, good,
world travel.
good, yeah.
I know that that's something, they're not ignoring that. That's, it's not an elephant in the room, and it's not just being shoved in a corner. They're discussing it
Yeah,
actively
good.
as a group, but what their discussions entail, I don't know. So I can't really answer that. The trip, how many trips are going and when? Let's see, I just got back from London. I'm going to Iceland next year. I'm going to London the following year. And then with your graces, I will take a break for a year, I think. But I know that there's a plan because of the Global Studies program for something to occur every year to help students meet that requirement. Additionally, we started a very successful Spain exchange program last year. That trip will be going next year. So that appears to be in every other year in the same way that London is. I don't know if that will continue after this year, but it looks to be that if it's another successful year, that will be a promising every other year as well. Additionally, I believe that there is a culinary trip that is being scheduled and in the works for Italy, which I'm kind of hungry just thinking about. So in short, as we get opportunities for kids to get over the bridge, I think teachers are doing a really good job of presenting them.
Yes.
My daughter was one of the ones who was lucky enough to go to London with Mrs. Barnes and the other chaperones, and I can't say enough thank yous to letting her, helping guide her, because I know sometimes walking down a sidewalk is not a straight line with her, so.
It isn't for any 8th or 9th grader.
But she had a fabulous time. She came home, and even just talking about it that afternoon and evening was great. The next day, it was pretty much nothing. And then the following night, I believe she slept for, I want to say close to 14 hours. So it took until then for it to kind of settle back in and how exhausted she was, but she had a fabulous time, so thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for sending her. She was a joy.
So on that note, I'll make a motion if you'd like, or if somebody.
Yes, I was going to ask for one, so thank you.
So I'd make a motion to approve the 2020,
220, yeah.
2020, that's a really long time away, trip to London.
No.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Donna,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms.
I wasn't here last time. Were all those people here for the trip that the middle school went on? They all left after that.
Yeah, that's why they're here.
I don't know. It's strange.
I'm trying to figure out the role of chair.
She's a little preoccupied.
Doing fantastic.
Great, Donna.
Mrs. Richardson, you're doing
Oh,
wonderful.
yes. Next item is the high school data presentation.
I love data. Yes, I do.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. Thank you. The hardest part, I think, of putting this presentation together this evening was to actually get Mr. Martin to stand on his chimney so that Mr. Cass could take that photo we have up there. I know Mr. Martin, our assistant principal, very photogenic.
It does look like this, too.
So, data, is extremely important. I gotta be honest with you, it bores me unless I put it into story form. That's how I best learn. I love stories, so I thought tonight what I would do to help everyone kind of understand this and our story a little bit better, I put it in story form, and kind of made it a culmination of the 3+ going on our 4th year here at Monomoy about what we've built virtually from scratch. And certainly would answer any questions as we go if you have them. So that's kind of the concept here, is to put our data over not just this year, but over the last 3 years. And in the story, I'll include programming to put real actual programs and names to things, and then to support those new programs with data that have proven to be successful. And then also talk, and I'll tie that in with our school improvement plan, which you have a copy of, which is basically our vision, our next steps to keep the ball rolling and keep improving and never become complacent. So the first slide you may recognize is the front page of the Cape Cod Times, October 24th, 2016. The red marker is my writing. Some of it's hard to read from up there, so the first one, grad rates fall below state average, is an obvious topic there. National high school rate record high. So there you go. The national record is high, but the Cape rates fall below state average. So that's not a good headline right now. We don't want to be under that headline. And who's under that headline all over the place but Monomoy High School? And part I boxed out there was, while Monomoy High School had the Cape and Islands' lowest graduation rate by far at 76.9%. So that, if you recall those that were here at that time, that was based on our first cohort that graduated. We had 1 year with them at Monomoy. And I was here before this board defending that headline. And I don't guess not totally defending it, but owning it. And I remember quite clearly what I said was that I take full responsibility for that, and that will never happen again, and we'll never be at the bottom again, and we'll work relentlessly to make that never happen. I shared it with the staff. That front page hung in my office. I bought 3 copies of that paper for motivation. I hung it in my office, put it in my gym bag every time I went and worked out, and I hung it in my office at home, just to remind me that that was unacceptable to us. I shared it with our staff. They agreed. We had some extenuating circumstances which we shared, but also we started off right from that headline and from all the conversations we had that there is no excuses, that we want to be the best, and that's certainly not the best, and we're not going to accept being the lowest. So that's how it started, I think. And to base our data presentation on our school improvement plan goals, I took a couple to highlight, and I just I capitalized the word including any student in need of opportunities or enrichment. And then in the second bullet, I bolded the word all students, including identified and at-risk students. So the concept here is a home away from home concept that our school was built on the foundation of culture. That if every single kid was cared for, loved, held to high expectations, pushed, challenged, and supported, that's the secret formula. That's the silver bullet that no one else is talking about. Everyone else is talking about MCAS scores, double math, double English, test, test, test. We took a different approach, and it was very risky, and the staff bought into that. That if we do that, the other things will take care of itself. And as a former coach, my analogy was always that I would never talk about winning with my team. Never mentioned it. I just mentioned doing the little things really well. Showing up early, staying late. My clock was 10 minutes early, and you better not be late. That we would outwork every opponent. That we might not be the most talented, but we would be the most mentally tough. These all carry over to education. These are all characteristics that are needed in the workforce. When I hire someone, I never ask them their MCAS score. I've never asked them if they took an AP class, but I will ask them in their references, do they play well with others? Do they outwork their colleagues? Do they show up early? How is their attendance? How's their grit level? Can they handle stress? Those are what I look for in hiring, and then talking to community members and those who hire in the job force, that's what they're looking for. So that's kind of where we focused. And then the MCAS scores, as you'll see, and the test scores and all that other stuff, that's also important, but not as important to me as the newspapers believe it to be, also will rise. And you'll see that happen at our school. So a concept of good to great, Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he talks about good being the enemy of great, because people get complacent when they're good. Everyone likes to be good. So we talked about never being complacent. That's where that came from. So these are the conversations we're having in year one of our school, when we were working out of boxes and getting to know each other and forming two cultures. And MCAS scores was on there, all right, because that's another paper that I didn't have, but our MCAS scores were near the bottom, are not very good. So we were getting hammered in the media, and it was okay because it bonded us. We also talked about expanding learning opportunities to challenge highly motivated students. So this is where the all comes in. In schools, you often see the top students get praised and get awards and trophies and leads in the plays and acknowledged. And you get the students that are most in need of challenge, their behavior problems get a lot of attention, obviously. It's the students in the middle that are often left behind. So our whole concept of every child in the 620 concept is that no one should fall through the cracks. We're still working on that, and it always will. It's not perfect, but it has proven to work pretty well for us. Again, provide experiential learning. We'll talk about that. Real life opportunities. You know, the kids always ask that question, what are we doing this for? They don't ask it a lot here because it's hands-on. This is what we do. Some of what we have to do, but a lot of it, as you'll see with some of the programming we do, it is real life. It is real life exposure. It's real core values that they're learning here. And then interventions, obviously, for struggling learners. So I won't read all of these, and I'll skim through this because I don't want to take all night, because you do have this, but I'll highlight some of the more important ones. And I think on the right-hand column, the second bullet down, provide time in the school day for extra help and enrichment opportunities. Richard Dufour was an award-winning superintendent, principal, Blue Ribbon School, I believe, in Washington. If you Google Richard Dufour, just a superstar educator. He came up with the concept that you need to have interventions and support during school, not after school. If a kid's not good at math or English and is failing and feels embarrassed about it, and you ask them voluntarily to come back and do more of that, you know, like really. And that's why, you know, people shake their heads and say, well, I ask them to stay after school, but they never do. And really, we can't make them stay. So it wasn't too genius an idea, but not everyone's doing it, is to have those opportunities during the school day. And that's kind of where Jocelyn came from. And that we have it during the day, and that you don't have to stay after school. So really, there's no excuse. Again, that's a work in progress. We'll talk a little bit about that. But that's the concept behind that, and that came from Dufour's extensive research and success. Improve the transition to students in grade 8. You know, we continue to work on that, and I'll get to a little bit to that as well. And utilize student data to make informed decisions, which is the whole concept of tonight's presentation. So then we started, okay, what are we going to do about it? We asked our questions, we brainstormed, and now we need to make some action steps. This is what we started to come up with, and this is what we've accomplished over the last 4 years. These are all new or didn't exist in our first year. So a lot of them you're familiar with, but you see a lot of task forces. Those are volunteer work by our teachers. They're not getting paid extra. They stay after school often. They do a lot of the work on their own. But it's getting a lot of great minds in a room and solving our problems. My job as principal is to find a way to support them and say yes to their great ideas. And I think that we've succeeded with that. The Academic Center, again, was along the principle of getting support for students during the school day. What that is certified teachers working with our students in very small groups. These are non-students with no special needs, and hope to reduce the number of students that are referred for special needs, to be proactive to get them when they're struggling and to support them. So the students, in lieu of an elective course, will be put into an academic center and receive supports. Will also help whether they need to be organizational skills, contact with teachers, homework help, all that kind of stuff. And it's been, and I'll share some data with that too. It's been super successful. We've expanded it, and it's working. And we've got great people that are working there. And then, summer school, and I'll talk about that later. It didn't exist here. We were sending kids to Dennis Yarmouth, and when we looked at the numbers, nobody was going because they didn't want to drive there, or they couldn't get a ride there. They didn't know anybody there. They couldn't afford it. And so we said, well, why don't we just do it here? Have home field advantage. We can charge them a lot less, and then there's no excuse. So we started our own summer school, and it's been successful. Josh Samar, you know all about. Graduation requirement adjustment, we went through that conversation last year, and I appreciate your trust and vote of confidence in that. It is working. We've had so many compliments from our senior class and from their parents that they're not so restricted, that they can take the courses that they're passionate about, enjoy, and now will proceed to go to school for in college. And so that's been really helpful to us and really helpful for our students. So that's working out well. We'll get to MAP testing, credit recovery. The PSAT and SMQT for all, again, hardly any schools do this. We put this in our budget because we value it. And kind of what Mr. Russ was talking about everyone having a chance for something. All our students, we pay for them to take that in school. And we'll show you the data on that, what it's done for how many kids actually take the real SAT test. It's incredible by just offering that opportunity that they would not have, or resources to have, or the money to have to take it. So that's pretty impressive. And our AP task force, we've been doing a lot of work on our AP courses this year, and I'll share that with you as well. So that's kind of the action steps, and we'll put it, again, a couple of these, the Struggling Learners Task Force was the original, and a lot of these branched off of that. The homework policy came out of that, which was, the third rail of education nobody wants to talk about because it's very hard to get anybody to agree on it. But we did. We did a sample, and we found that our homework strategies for each class was so different that it was very challenging for parents from one class to another. Some teachers were counting it for 30%, some for no 0%, and everything in between. Some would give it every night, some didn't give it at all. So what we did is we came up with a consistent policy. It was posted and shared with our kids and our parents, and we've really helped our student body with that in our school. And that was done by teachers. So we're real proud of that. Again, not something every school will take on. Grading task force. Again, consistency in grading and how we grade. Still have work to do on this, but again, not a lot of schools talk about this. But we were seeing such discrepancies in grading, because we look at the data, and for the same course, some kids are getting all these grades and other kids aren't, and why? And when we delved down into the data, into the numbers, we had to come up with some consistency on how we grade. What we value. For example, when you give a student a 0 for a homework assignment, they have to get X amount of hundreds just to get back to 50. It's really punishing. And so when that kid misses a couple of homeworks, and if a teacher's grading like that, has grading practice like that, that kid technically, after the first half of the year, could be impossible for that person to pass that course. So when we started reasoning and talking about that, they said, no, that doesn't really make sense. We can do better than that for our kids. So we came up with a consistent policy that was better for kids and better for teachers, and that we all agreed on. So we did that as well. And then the developed Ask Alert icons for struggling learners. In a lot of schools, including our own, teachers have access on the database to their own students. If I have 100 students, I have access on Aspen to their grades, their other courses, and their information. Teachers were saying to us, well, if we're doing JAWSOM hour, and I had a kid last year that I could help, can I see how he's doing or she's doing this year to help them? And we said, well, why not? We can trust our teachers with information and grades with students. Why can't we trust it with all? So we opened that window, and we put alert icons on there, and we called it MeWIS. The State Department of Education has a concept called EWIS, Early Warning Indicator System, where they use research-based strategies, and they're kind of common sense, that red flag kids for potential failures for graduation. And they include attendance, obviously, grades, if any Fs, one or more Fs, behavior, discipline issues, and such. So we took that model and adjusted it to our own. And any student, and we had some criteria. So for example, any student that got over 5 absences was flagged. Okay, well, we got to keep an eye on that. Why does that person have 5 absences? More eyeballs on it. This is how nobody falls through the cracks. If somebody was feeling more than 1 F, they were flagged. Everybody knew about it. We're going to all help that child. We're all going to know. So That's really opened up our school to everyone's responsible for every single child, not just, it's the English department to do the writing and reading, it's the math department for do critical thinking. It got the culture of they're all our students and we all are responsible for them to succeed. And so that is these are tangible examples I wanted to share with you that we've developed over 4 years that have helped us be successful. What else? Okay, and the rest is self-explanatory, so we'll go on. So here's a little data to show you how we're progressing. And if you look at the dark green on the far right side, that's very high growth. And the bottom is 2015, middle is 2016, and the top 2017 in math, in ELA. So we're all about growth. And our scores when they come out, and you can do anything with data, our scores when they come out in newspapers and such might be in the middle of the pack on Cape Cod. They're above average across the state, which is good. But we look at growth. When we get the students, how are they growing? So you can only get what you can get. A teacher can't be responsible for someone they get that was scoring in the middle of the pack and then stayed in middle of the pack or moved up, and we couldn't measure that on how they did. This is actual growth. 1 year's worth of growth for 1 year's worth of teaching. That's all we expect. We expect it to be done every year. So if you look at this, there's pretty tremendous growth right here. We're on a good trend right now for our MCAS growth in ELA, over 7% for our very high growth. So that's a nice trend, and all those little indicators or other things we've been doing well have supported this important number. So that's what we value when we value student growth on MCAS. Now we look at math, okay? Similar, even bigger. Very high growth. 2015, it was 27%. It went up 2% next year, and then the following year it jumped up to 39%, so we're up over 12%, very high growth. But again, data doesn't matter unless you get 3 years worth of evidence. 1 year data can be an anomaly. I think when you start looking at trends, you have to have a 3-year minimum. So we'll continue to watch this. It's trending very well for us. But we also know, we have to, as all the kids' growth goes up, it gets harder to keep that growth going. So we'll continue to work. But those are very positive numbers for us. Graduation rate. This kind of goes back to the front page when it was 76 point something. It's up to 92.4% of last year's class, and well above state average. We were below state average initially, so that's a challenge for math here. Almost 11 point something percent gain in 3 years. Pretty considerable. I'd put that up against most any high school. And again, 3 years trending this way. Math trending this way. English trending this way. 3-year data. It's all in the numbers. And here's some of the other things that we talked about, the story about how we get that data to make it, prove it. Graduation requirements, again, this is just what we did, and I kind of commented on this earlier. We weren't softening the number of credits. We were just making our kids do an extra year's worth of credits than any other high school because we were new. And so again, we appreciate your work with that. And you see that taking that risk, and I want the public to see that just because we reduced the credits doesn't mean our MCAS scores went down, doesn't mean we had any less kids take APs. We still got kids going to Harvard this year. You can get anywhere from this school. So none of that's changed. So I wanted to make sure that I came back and reported out to you that changing those requirements last year helped us. It did not hurt us. MAP testing. I think the middle school and the elementary schools are really doing a great job in this, and we're just jumping on board. A timeline there. I think this year we spent our first time with our 8th grade team, especially of teachers, really getting kind of the hang of it and starting to look at the individual student data. We still got growth on this. This will be a focus of mine for next year to really start using this. And like I said, I'll learn from my colleagues who are really doing it well. The good news is, as the elementary and middle schools do it, when they come up to us in the 8th grade, we'll have 6 to 8 years worth of data on that student. So we'll see. We won't have to wait for MCAS to see where they fall. So for example, in math, we'll have a good idea. English, we'll have a good idea through the years of math testing. So it's a great thing for the school and the district. So we'll have some trends in the students and kind of know where their strengths and weaknesses are when they come into our classrooms. So it's really powerful. So that's some numbers on the right there. 75, 79% of our kids are doing well or above average. But again, we'll have more information specific next year when we dive into this a little deeper. So we're in our first year of kind of looking at the numbers and kind of connecting it to our goals and our curriculum, but we'll do a better job of that next year, have more focus on it. I spoke about the Academic Center, and this is where the students go to get help during the school day, very focused attention. You know, the number of students has gone up to 97, you know, so it's increased, so we increased the number of sections. We increased the number of teachers participating in that. And we got creative with that. We didn't hire a new teacher. We were able, each teacher by contract is able to teach one section outside their specialty. And we looked for volunteers, and we looked for our best teachers, and went to them and said, hey, we need you to help our struggling kids, the most difficult and challenging kids that are, and we got a lot of volunteers for that. So one section, they'll go in and work with those kids that are struggling. And again, that's a secret to our formula of some of these numbers and some of these kids not falling through the cracks, is those kids get the attention and help they need early and often. We look at their grades every 5 weeks, progress report card, progress report card, and so on. And then kids can transition in and out. They start succeeding and doing well, okay, they're out, great, you're back on your way. That's the whole goal. And then new kids can come in. And the class sizes are as low as 10. We keep them 10 or under so the teacher can focus on them. And we also, the magic to this too is we also have older kids, juniors and seniors, that get credit for coming in and mentoring and tutoring these kids. So if I'm super good at math and I want to help my younger colleagues or students, I'm scheduled into that class and I can help tutor them in math because the teacher might be the English teacher, for example. So we have students working with students in that model as well, so it's pretty powerful. Okay, credit recovery and online learning. Now, what happens to a kid that fails 2 classes freshman year? Now, how do they make that up? Now, you know, they've got a full course load moving on, and now I've got to make up 2 classes. How am I going to do it? So, you know, you have summer school, but that's not always the answer. So we have credit recovery, and if you see in 2014, 2015, we didn't have it at all. We didn't have summer school. We didn't have academic support. You know, we had none of it. So in the summer of 2015 and 16, we had what's called FUELED. That's just the name of a software that we used. That kids can go online and take courses with a teacher, online or without. And you have to be, you know, self-motivated and guided to do that. And in 16 and 17, we continued it for the whole year, and we expanded it to help with conflicts and AP courses not offered. So basically at first it was just to help struggling learners catch up by taking an extra course online, either after school or during an elective class. In lieu of an elective class, like an academic support, they would go into guidance and catch up on an extra math class, something like that. So it was a way for them to legitimately catch up. You know, and Scott supported us on this. We switched to Ingenuity with our summer school, and with the Ingenuity, what you'll see in a lot of summer school programs is they're, you know, 4 weeks, bang, bang, you're in and out. And what our teachers had a problem with, and I know Scott did and I did as well, was we want it to matter. If they're going to get a year's worth of credit over a summer, they have to put the time and hours in. So Ingenuity has increased that, and that's a legitimate course that they have to finish, and if they do, they've earned the credit. So we wanted to have some integrity into our summer program and into our online classes. And it's harder for kids, but we want them to learn the course if they have to do that. So, and it's worked out very well. And you'll see the AP stuff, if we don't offer a class here, and we have some kids that want to take an AP that we don't offer, they can do it online, so that we expand our AP offerings. We've had kids do that, and I'll show you the numbers on that too, which is a cool thing to have. So these are some data on the credit recovery. This is all our software. And if you look at some on the top column, the number of students, 24, and the number of courses, 25, and then you skip over to the last column, it's 18 and 23. And the numbers are somewhere in between in the middle. You know, I think that's the trend we want to go. We want less kids having to take credit recovery because they're passing their regular courses. So we want that number to be lower. So that's bounced around a little, but 18 this year was our lowest number, and we're happy with that. So we want to see 3 years of that trend decreasing. We want that number of AP and honors is healthy at 8, 7, and 8. We just started it last year. Again, this is just for all learners. If we can offer the kids that want to take it on their own time in AP class or an honors class that we don't offer, we want to give them that opportunity. In college now, every college has at least one online class you're going to take, or hybrid classes. So it also prepares those kids that want to prepare for college to take online courses in the high school level. And then we have an MCAS prep class that we're trying out there for students that are struggling with MCAS. They have courses for that. And we're we're gonna look at that more next year too, to help our kids as a potential resource. I talked about the PSAT and offering it to all kids at no cost for our school. So we level the playing field. And if you look at fall 2015, it's broken down by grades and the number of kids that took the test. Number of kids that took the test after we started having them all take it and pay for it doubled. So they took our test, then the numbers doubled because they were either motivated or said, I can handle this, I can do that. The confidence went up. Whatever it was, that by offering that opportunity, it's clear in the data that our numbers of kids that go out and take that. And we also get that data back, share it with teachers, use it, and kids have it for college, obviously, or for military, or however they want to use it. But, so we're proud of that, and we're glad it's working. But we do follow it because it's money that we're spending, and we want to see if our investment's working, and it is. So here's some experiential learning opportunities that we offer our kids. Our alternative education program is a program for students that the general education model might not work. Again, we're proud of this because a lot of schools have this after school or a different location. We have it right during the school day in our school. They're part of our school family. It's just a different route. And I'm very proud of that because, again, not a lot of schools do that. And that has a very high success rate of helping kids out and getting them to work or to graduate, high graduation success rate out of that group. So, and the kids have to interview to get in, and they become part of that family there. And it's, again, just one more option for kids to succeed, because all kids don't go the same route to graduate necessarily. And I think we're doing pretty good at that. The community internship, we just had our luncheon, and there's probably about 80 people in the room. It was a celebration of something that we didn't have when we started, or a handful of kids. We started in 16 and 17, and you'll see a lot of colleges try to do this. Northeastern does it very well, and it's just after that model. Well, why can't we do it in high school? Why can't kids go out and connect with the community? And we have such a strong community here. I mean, we just gave you some examples there. I think, there's over 20 of them, and they're expanding. We've got law firms, we've got both police and fire departments, the local hospitals, Cape Cod 5, Baseball League. The list goes on, and every year it keeps expanding, thanks to Mr. Alexander's role in that. Again, we freed him up for one class to oversee this, kind of like Mr. Dixon in the Global Studies, and it just takes off. And it's just being creative and taking a little risk that it's not the traditional teach 5 classes to do this. Well, wait a minute, what if we have a teacher that oversaw the internship and then went out and started hustling on his own time and met some people in the community and asked them to come in and work with kids, and you'd be amazed that a lot of people say yes. So the kids go out, they work with these groups, they learn the skills of the job, they may learn they love it, they may learn they don't like it. But they learn real life, and they learn that these are people out there working for a living in what they do, and get appreciation for real life, showing up on time, meeting a schedule, being responsible, communicating. All those things they learn as part of that. So they have to do a project which they presented, and we had, Dave did a nice spread for a lunch, and we invited all the community members in with our interns, and they showed their projects off, and we had a celebration and luncheon last week, and again, there's probably 80 people in the room, so that's been very successful. Next year's group is even more. I think there's 40 kids now signed up, so it's becoming extremely popular, and I wish I had. Sorry about the font here. This slide might be a little different than your handout because I updated it. We had mid-year results. And basically, the top one is, it says number of sessions that students attended. It's academic offerings are on the top. And the bottom one is enrichment opportunities. And I break them down below of what they are. So the academic ones are the academic overtime, which is if the student's failing a course or struggling and the teacher thinks they need some extra help, they'll give them an academic overtime pass. That's the one that's mandated. If you get that, you have to show up. If you don't, you contact the guidance counselors the first time because it's more of a conversation. If it becomes chronic, the administration's involved. If you need extra help or a quiet study, you can do that as well. So that those numbers, the top number is about 5,600. That's 3 months. These are kids that signed in. These are actual kids in those classrooms. 21,000. is over 9 months, so if you take the 3 months and times it by 3, you get about 15,000 if we went by that. You know, it's not the best measurement, but it's significantly more kids showing up than the pilot. What we haven't done a great job at yet is kind of detailing. Basically what happens now is when a child goes into an academic overtime or sport, they sign in on a piece of paper. Because having a teacher do attendance as the kids come and go would be crazy. We couldn't find a solution to that. So the kids sign in, and under each category, academic overtime, why are they there? They sign in there. We collect those sheets every 2 weeks, and our administrative assistant has to by hand tally all those things, and that's where we get these numbers. So we have it broken down by teacher. So if we wanted to find out what student X went, how many times to academic overtime versus enrichment, we could find that out, but we'd have to go through every sheet and find that kid. So that's a weakness of it right now. So that's why these numbers, you know, they just show you that there's a lot of things taken advantage of. But if you average it out and try to figure out how many kids per week, you know, they're probably 3 to 4 they're taken advantage of. And I just was talking, I sent an email to Ms. Scott about this earlier. You know, after piloting the year, it's one of the best things we do. I firmly believe it, because the alternative was we took 1 minute from every class to gain this. And can kids steal a lunch hour here and there? Yeah, they can. Can they do it regularly if they're not succeeding? No. Eventually they'll catch up to them. And how do we do that? The next slide is we look at our failure rates. That's the correlation. That's the data we use to track this. That's the best data. So this was like herding cats, trying to figure out where all the kids are. We just look at their grades and track them down that way. We had a lot of success with something we called success chats. And what we focused on this year is the students that were failing. We started with anybody with more than one F, and then we worked that way back with anybody with an F. And guidance would track them. We'd call the parents in. They'd have a sit down with me, the guidance counselor, and the assistant principal. And we'd go over their grades and what was happening. And we'd set up a schedule within a schedule where they'd have a JOSM schedule just for JOSM. Where, you know, we're going to follow you. We're going to make sure that you're not hanging out in the gym. And we're going to make sure that you're not hiding in the team rooms. You're going to be somewhere. So we were able to put a real squeeze on that population of students that really needed it. Now, if someone's getting a C and doing okay and not failing any classes, can they go play basketball for the half hour? Yeah. They've earned that freedom. They've earned that enrichment. The way we look at it is we took 1 minute from a class. So if we have that 1 minute, 5 minutes a week, 5 minutes a day, excuse me, we're gaining a ton. And I'll share the data with you on our failure rates and how they've changed.
Just a quick question. So the kids that are, like, say, a D or F, they are made to go to these academic times?
Only, right now it's an F. We recommend a C or below. But the number of students would be too many, so we're picking them off. We started with Fs. F's got to come. After that, it's anybody that is in jeopardy, should be. We also encourage the kids that, hey, you're getting old enough now where if you're not doing well, those doors are open, you have to go in there. But they're kids too, so we have to get better at tracking that. And when talking to Mr. Carpenter, Dr. Carpenter, I was thinking, you know, it was his idea, if we could get a scan card or some kind of a technology where the teachers didn't have to stop it, we could just scan the kids in. It's out there, I think.
It's like conferences, you get scanned.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so I know, so I'll be coming to you for about 1.2 million next meeting. You'll be able to know where every single kid is, even at home. What websites they're on. But, yeah.
Obvious question, Bill, just struck me 20 minutes ago. You mentioned how, along with Aspen, there is a data point that, or an icon.
Yeah.
I forget the term you used. And you docked it up from what the state gives you to allow you to catch up on a warning. A warning signal would come for the staff. 2 questions. Those parents who can access Aspen because they have a computer at home, would they be able to identify that icon without trusting Larry or Hope to say to them, I'm failing, or?
I don't think so. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to check on that. I don't know
The second question, wouldn't that ability for JOSM be a way to tally real quickly through guidance who isn't down in the gym? In other words, if that icon refers to kids who are failing, that's a quick, I don't know how quick it would scan these names with who has those.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example of how we finally were catching up. So the gym is a very attractive option for kids. We can get 80 to 100 kids in there, and that was great. They burn off the energy, and that was great. What we decided to do there is because we saw some of those, wait a minute, And the teachers would come down and, grab them, hey, whoa, come here, you're supposed to be with me. So what we decided to do is we print out a sheet every day, and anyone that has an F in any class is on that sheet. And they can't come into the gym or a privileged area unless they get a note from the teacher. So we cut off the fund supply there because they hadn't earned it, and they were sneaking in there. So that's really worked out really well, because now those kids know that, hey, I gotta get my grade up in that class, and then I can go play basketball. There it is. So that's one example of something we've done that's really worked, that kind of along those lines, where we've identified the students that were slipping through the cracks, that weren't showing up, and then we were able to stop that. Okay. So again, that's year one, and it's continued work in progress. And so we looked at our F data, and we looked at the number of kids that were failing. And you see our first, 2015, our second year, first quarter, we had 261 Fs, 121, which is probably 20% of our school failing something. All right? That's not good. Okay, so all these things you see, lining up, our scores were low, we had no supports, and all this, and then you see where that leads us. But now you see when we start implementing stuff and start getting our act together and the growth, now you fast forward to 2017-18 this year in the first quarter, and you'll see that there's been a significant reduction in the number of failing courses by 58% since 3 years ago. And the number of, that's the number of kids, the number of courses by 51%. So over 50% of the less kids failing classes, and over 50%, close to 60% of courses being failed. Significant. And again, 3-year trend. We'll fill those other quarters in for the rest of the year. We haven't caught up to that yet, but I'm sure we'll see a similar pattern. So, that's not directly from Jocelyn. We don't know. That's anecdotal because Jocelyn is brand new. It could be from the other supports. We had multiple, but Jocelyn is one piece of a bigger puzzle, I think, and that's why I'm sharing the whole story with you, because our eggs are in a lot of baskets, not just one. But so here's a good example, and it's just one more indicator that I wanted to share with you how things are trending over 3 years in the positive. Here's another example of a 3-year, in this case, a 4-year trend. Number of students taking AP courses have nearly doubled since 2013, so 81 kids are now taking them, where 44 took them then, and the number of exams has just about doubled as well. Significant improvement. If you look at the 3-year data, you see a bubble in there with 88 and 169, and what happened in the next year. That's why we decided to start our AP. I'll get to the specifics of that. But now we have regular meetings with our teachers, which we didn't have before. We look at when our test data comes back on how the kids score on the exams. We break that down. We meet with our teachers. During Jocelyn, we started a meeting. They volunteered. They would come in and say, okay, what's happening? What's our philosophy in our program? And we decided that there's a couple of trains of thought on this. The philosophy could be, do we want more kids exposed to AP courses? Or do we want more kids scoring 3 or better on the exam, which is passing college credit? Obviously, you'd want both, right? We found when we did the research that you can game this system pretty good. And when those newspapers and those national organizations rate the best schools in the country, they use AP scores, 3s or better, as one of the indicators. They use MCAS scores as well. They use a lot of test data. And we found that some of the schools, and we won't name names here, but if you had 80 kids at school X taking AP course, and you found out by the end of the year that, whoa, 30 of them are not going to pass this test. So those 30 won't take it. You're all set. You don't take it. These 50 will. They all get 3s or better. Because we found out, we did the same tally of number of students and number of exams, and we exposed those truths. All right? We're not going to play that game. We're all about, we want the kids to be challenged, pushed to take these college-level courses, and we all expect them to take the exam. That's another thing that a lot of schools don't do. They say, okay, take the course, we'll make our numbers look good, but a smaller number takes the test. If you take the course, you're expected to take the test here, because we think that's appropriate. It's a high-level exam. And if you don't pass it, you don't get a 3, okay. All right, you got through the course, you tried it, you worked it. What we need to do a better job of, and what that 88 to the 81 shows us, is that we have to do a little bit better job, and then the numbers dropping there, at you know, there might be some kids, and we looked at some numbers where kids are getting 1s or 2s that, you know, we were almost letting in that maybe we shouldn't have. You know, we have to have some kind of a bar. But we all agreed that we'd rather have a kid push themselves and take a risk and try that course than turn them away. And I'm very proud of that, and that's why the numbers are going up like that. So, worst that can happen is, what's happening too now with the AP exam, I'm sorry I'm going on a little about this, I'm pretty passionate about it, is that, because my own kids went through this, when they say you take an AP level class and you can use it for college credit, more and more schools are not accepting it as college credit anymore. You know, it's a moneymaker. So, you know, we'll have a whole other separate talk on exposing tests and testing and the money behind it at a different time. But we're still doing very well at it, among other things. All right, Advanced Placement Program Improvement Initiatives. So those are the AP forums we had to make sure we're doing that great. The celebration of the kickoff breakfast, fall breakfast of excellence. So basically, these are ways to celebrate that it's cool to take AP. It's cool to challenge yourself, right? These are really hard things. AP boot camp is something that's offered during Jocelyn time, especially right before the tests. If you want to go in there, and you'll see those classrooms full of kids cramming. You know, when they would have to do it in the past after school, but then they have sports or drama or something, they couldn't do it. So when do I get this extra help? Jocelyn, that's another example. We have a lot of AP boot camps that kids can go in and help with their teacher and their friends prepare for those assessments, and that's another reason why more kids are taking it, because they feel supported. And in the waiver process for students not recommended for AP, we felt we wanted the parents involved in the decision-making of their students' education. So our teachers will recommend a course each year, whether it's AP or not, any course, and then the parents have the opportunity to overwrite that and say, well, I'm going to put in writing that I think my student can handle honors. They're not recommended, but I'll make sure. And so it's like a contract. We say, okay, we trust your judgment, but just know that, you know, we recommend they might not be ready for that, but we'll support that. And that opens up a lot of good conversations with parents, and we've seen a lot of success with that process because it's above board and open, and everyone has a say in it. And then there's just some new AP courses that we're coming up with, and then AP Computer Science is kicking off for next year, which we're really excited about. Our technology department's just exploding. We'll have some good news about that next year. I mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to, last year, I think you're going to see in education a lot of social emotional learning, vernacular, and hype. We've been doing it for 4 years here with the 620, the home away from home. Every kid matters. We front-loaded our counseling program here. When we had retirees, we used that positions to add counselors, and this 8th grade position was a great thing for us, focusing on a huge transition year. And it's the first year for us, so we're assessing how we're doing with that. But meeting with all the kids, getting to know the kids. This counselor attends the team meetings that the teachers are in to talk to them about the social emotional, where the teachers are talking about the academics. So it's a lot better in that respect, and it works closely with our 8th and 9th grade assistant principals, so it's more of a team there. What it also does, too, is it decreases the caseload for our other 3 counselors that are working with 9 through 12. So they've spent a considerable more time with their students than they could before. Because what we were finding is that you start off with seniors, right, getting them ready for college if you're a counselor. You're getting the visits ready, getting the letters of recommendation ready. It's a big push. By the time you get to the 8th graders, it's middle end of the year. Right? And it's their biggest year of transition. So, I mean, that's how most schools operate. So we have a solution for that by getting them their own counselor. Because anybody that's done any research knows that the transition years in schools are the most impactful. Kindergarten, 5th or 6th grade with middle school, 8th or 9th grade with high school. So we're putting a lot of work in that. So we'll start to see dividends with that program and that hire. And to not kill you with another hour of school improvement plan, I'm willing to come back and answer questions on the school improvement plan once you have time to digest it. I know you just got it a week ago, but I want to just kind of go through the process, the product, and the focus of it, and then you could read the specifics. I want to thank our school improvement, our school council for all their hard work. We typically have quarterly meetings 4 times a year, but we do a lot of work over the computer or through Google sharing, and they have homework, and they're a great group. So we've kind of felt that's been the best model for us here at the high school. And what we decided this year is that in addition, should we need additional meetings, we would do so. So with the school improvement plan, ending in 2018, we had to start one from basically scratch. We felt, and we know that's very important work, so we set aside 3 separate sessions, additional meeting time, just to work on the school improvement plan. We rolled up our sleeves, we got to work, and we developed what we think is a very strong school improvement plan. And then this has steps, because we want input, we want collaboration, we want a lot of great minds behind it. So the process was that council did 3 working sessions to come up with a draft. We then shared it with our department heads here at the school, talked about it, the same document, well, an original draft of what you have, got their input from it. Then the department heads, through their PLC meetings the following week, would share it with their staff. So now the whole staff has access and a view to it. They shared it in advance so they could read it, they discuss it, they give us feedback. That feedback is then given back to the school council. They take it, tweak it, update it, and then 2 days ago, what's today, Wednesday? This week sometime, maybe it was yesterday. Yesterday, I shared it with our district leadership team, including Superintendent Carpenter and principals from each of the schools, got their feedback. Again, had a few more minor tweaks that they caught. Awesome, more eyes on it, the best. Went back and shared that one last time with our school council, and I think we have a pretty solid draft there through all those steps. So that's kind of the process of it all. I do believe it's a living, breathing document, which means after your approval, if we change something or edit something, we're going to share that with you and hope to do that if any new great idea comes out, or if there's any feedback that you have that you want to, that's always possible. I think that those are the best documents. Now, the product itself. We talked a lot this year about us being on accreditation from NEAS, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. They're a very widely respected organization. They have some of the best research-based standards out there, and they're new. They're for 2020. They're the newest ones out there. Really strong standards, and I shared that they became the model for our work. So basically what's happening is this year we did our self-study. Next October, a group of teachers, educators, NEAS folks will come in and do a really in-depth dissection of our school, basically. Have focus groups, you'll be part of that. They'll talk about, and they'll look at the report we did. The report is basically our self-reflection. The whole truth, good, bad, and the ugly of what our school is. It's 125 to 130 pages long right now, and it's all about our school. And basically, the best way to do that is to tell the truth. They come in and validate it. They talk about things you need. They come in with recommendations, and they come in with combinations, things we're doing well, things we need to improve on. And it's a really powerful and productive process. So we're looking forward to that, seeing what we're doing well and getting validation on that, and also getting some ideas and feedback from professionals that do our work on what we can improve on. So we felt that our school improvement plan should directly connect to our strategic plan, but also, if we're doing NEAS work and meeting those standards, why would we do something different? When NEAS talks about you must have a school improvement plan, and their work is research-based and validated. Colleges use it as well. So the language you see in there is directly from NEAS and from those research standards, which we used. So we basically, to make this transition, we've referenced, if you see pages on there, you'll see NEAS pages. I don't think they sent you that, but I can send you a copy of the NEAS document. There's a link on there when you hit it to go to the NEAS site to look at those. But our focus areas, for example, on the second bullet in the product, learning culture, student learning, professional practices, and learning support are the domains of are the standards that NEAS supports. And they break them down pretty thoroughly. They also offer, what I really liked, is descriptives of effective practice. These are research-based best practices that great schools do. And we've included that on this document in the second column and put bullets there. So it's a great guide for practical use. So even if you don't know much about the acronyms of education, if you read that document, if a community member picks our school improvement plan up and they look at those bullets, they say, okay, I understand what that is. Common assessments for classes, okay? Or differentiation for all students. So they start giving real clear-cut examples. That helps our staff and guide us. So I thought that was really strong, so we included that in there. The timelines you'll see in this year are more generic. They just say 2018 to 2021, because what we found in the past is we got really specific and put fall 17 to December 17, and we were more driven by timelines and not goals. So we're going to get it all done, but we can't tell the future and where we need to go and what we need to do, so we put those generic, but they'll all get done based on what our strategic plan ends up being and where we need to be. So that's the reason for that. Also, a cool new feature is live links on there, so we can put this document online and inform people. So you'll see in the one example, the bottom skills is on social emotional learning. That's something very new that people might not know about. Okay, what's that? I'm curious. I'll click on that. I'll learn a little bit more about that. The whole goal of this is to involve the community and everybody, that this isn't a book that sits on the shelf anymore, a document that collects dust, that everybody knows Monomoy School Improvement Plan. Everybody has ownership in it, everyone understands it. So those are all little new tweaks that were other people's idea, great ideas that we've incorporated to make this a live document that can be used online with live links. And as we get evidence, we'll put those up there as links as well. So if we have data, for example, like this, in our evidence column, we'll put those links. So as they come up, someone can go on that, click on the live link and say, oh, wow, okay, they're meeting that goal. Here's the evidence, here's the data. So this document will be living in that respect as well over the 3 years. We're not going to wait 3 years to share it with you. As we gain evidence and prove that we're doing it, reaching our goals, we will pop that up there. And then the focus, these are the focus points for us. Social emotional learning, you'll see that embedded through that. Our district's doing a really great job on that, guided by Melissa McGuire, is doing some great work with that. You'll see that in there. That's a very highlighted point from NEASC as well. Student-centered learning, that's not what we teach, it's what students learn that matters. And we have to switch from the focus of teaching to the focus of learning, and that's all over NEASC. And skip down to the fourth bullet, it evolves around growth mindset, and what that talks about is the ability to not get stuck in how we always used to do things, and to get more into, how can we look at things differently? How do we grow as professionals? How do we teach our kids and model for our kids the growth mindset and looking at things with new perspectives and never being complacent or satisfied? The next one about professional development, we can do a better job here at focusing our own school PD on our goals, and which will tie into our school improvement plan. So all the oars in the water, all in the same direction is the goal with that. Differentiation is the hardest thing in education, in my opinion. You get 20 kids in a class, and you get someone at this level down here, which might be 2 grades below grade level, and someone up here 2 grades above, and you're going to meet all their needs. What do you do? There's no easy answer, but there are ways to attack it and make sure that we do it. And we will do a better job of it. So that's a big focus. It was a focus of our district this year. We've had a lot of success with it because it was a focus. I'm a firm believer in you value what you measure. So differentiation is going to be a highlight next year, and you'll see it in that document. Collaboration and teamwork with adults. You'll see a lot of that professional learning community work with our colleagues on doing the work together. Interventions and enrichments. We'll continue to do that so that we meet the learning needs of all kids. I think that might be it. All right, there's about 12 minutes.
Maybe 13.
Sorry. That was 3 years though, so please allow me a little extra time, but I'll take any questions.
Okay, any questions, comments? Stout?
Yes. Thank you for all that. My only questions are about AP. There are 2 questions. One is, every AP course, does it have a test that you have to take or can take?
Yes.
You do, okay. The second question is, what can we do to give feedback to those rating systems that, people that put these together, I don't think necessarily know that they should be looking at the percent of the population who are taking these courses and not just numbers. As you spoke, that, they can kind of scam the system in getting different ratings.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I'm telling everyone that will listen. I've always been outspoken about it, and the best I can do is that, model it here and show that we're getting results.
Yeah.
And we're not focusing on, I've been in districts where, we had recess, and we took away recess because our test scores weren't good enough, and added double math and double English. Was tragedy. So we're not doing that here. I appreciate the support from Scott and all of you for not having us do things like that, because you can get results without focusing just on that.
I think we're doing a great job. I wish that there weren't things like that. Certainly our realtors would be interested in having those go up.
Yeah, and I think all the realty shops will be getting that brochure I left you all too. We're gonna be putting those out in all the local communities. I think we're one of the few schools in the Cape that doesn't do pay for advertising in the paper or on the
Yes.
radio. I think word of mouth's the best advertising. And I know Scott's gonna share some school choice data with you, but all the kids that are here now for next year going into our grade, our school choice numbers are very strong. Our kids are staying here.
Wonderful.
Kids are staying here. And I didn't even put that data because I didn't have it from 14 to now. It's not, it's night and day. So I think that speaks a lot about the great teachers we have and the programs we have. Once kids come here, they're not leaving.
Okay. Any
Thank
other
you so
questions?
much.
Mr. Russell?
Thanks, Donna. Great job, Bill. The thought strikes me, as a family, we're going to take a short trip in about a couple of weeks to Ireland. My wife went down to AAA and got a trip tick. And it plots out the moment you land at Dublin, the kilometers to the next stop, what's described there, and it's page after page of this summary. And it really brings home what I will see and experience before we get there. I'm impressed with the plan and also being in the business for a little while. The challenge of taking 70, 80, 100 staff, I don't know what there is here, and either through the system strategic plan in building a school improvement plan, and then at some point in last year or the next 3 or 4 years, each individual teacher every year gets an opportunity to build their own 1 or 2 goals for evaluation, and the team leaders here can add a goal or 2, part of which I'm assuming at some point PLCs or whatever venue, every staff member, every custodian, every staff that's working here somehow has a general understanding in the way of a triptych that we've just had tonight. To know that some level the troops are able to, they're cognizant of their knowledge bases where it should be like, what? So that's your challenge and all of the other staff, so it's not just a core of a few school council members, 5 or 6 go-getters. So I commend you for the leadership, and to me, it brings a lot of clarity to what used to be in the old days, helter-skelter. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Sion?
Osceola, yes.
Yes.
Is it permissible to speak in one's first meeting?
No.
So big.
This is going to be
Depends what
fun.
you say.
It's your initiation.
Well taken. I'm going to tell you a story also, because I learned by stories myself. And it's from subbing here earlier in the month. I was doing not commons duty, lunch duty. My old school was commons duty. 2 students who you might call not highly motivated were having a conversation, and I eavesdropped, as I tend to do. They were complaining. They were complaining about the culture. It's a way of saying thank you, I think. But it was something like, it's really hard to do bad here. It's really hard to do bad here. The teachers are all over you. You might as well just do the work.
I love that.
The other friend commiserating nods yes and says, yeah, you might as well just do it. And I don't know if these guys are going to ever come back and say thank you, but in the way they were.
Absolutely.
What they were talking about, without using the language, is they're talking about school culture. You have in here words that say identified. They felt identified. You have words like relentlessly build. They felt that. They felt that. There was no place to hide. People saw them, and there were structures in place. I worked at a school that had Austin Preparatory School, terrific school in the North Shore. They were the Austin Cougars. They had something called Cougar Block. And I got to work in that for a semester that I was subbing in that school. It was a great opportunity to connect with kids. And I said, when I come back to the Cape, I'm going to come to my friends at high school and tell them about this great idea called Cougar Block. And when I did get back here, you were already doing it. You use the word squeeze. I mean, when you squeeze people, they don't always say thank you, but the unidentified, or the kind of data that you get by listening, even when it comes out that way, it's an incredibly important and positive statement about the value of school culture. And lastly, remember that newspaper we began with? Did you see what it said about Blunt
Yeah,
and the touchdowns he scored?
against the Steelers.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other, oh, Scott?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you for all that you have put in since the October 24th, 2016. And when you came in here, and I remember you coming in here and saying, that's not okay, and we're going to fix it, we're going to do something about it, and it's going to get better. And even then, I think everybody sitting at these tables just said, yeah, it is, because you took the ownership to do it and took the initiative to say, we need to go through these action steps, and every one of them is just a fantastic addition to the school. So thank you for all of that. I could comment on every page, and there's so many good things happening here that the kids appreciate, and that story's just fantastic. Hard to do bad here. But I just, the Jossam Hour, you took the risk to do that, and, the teachers took the risk to do that, and those numbers are incredible. I emailed you questions earlier. I didn't get a chance to read your full response, so thank you for that. I'll look at it later. But just the fact that the kids have that downtime other than just the lunch period, and whether they're doing homework or socializing, and if they're doing homework 3 out of the 5 days, they're still doing something, which is important. So just them having a place to go and to feel safe and comfortable and hang out with their friends it's just fantastic stuff. So I look forward to seeing all the data to come in the years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we vote on this later, right? Like next
Correct.
week? Yeah. I'm getting this down here, but great job.
I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is the lease agreement for the engineering lab computers.
Katie Isernio, business manager. I won't take 45 minutes. No, I'm kidding. We have a need for computers in an engineering lab that have enhanced capabilities of the computers that are currently there. We'll be able to redeploy the computers elsewhere in this building. But we have a lease agreement, which would be a 3-year lease agreement with Hewlett-Packard Financial, and each annual payment was $9,177.05 it's a 36-month lease, but we'll just pay it in 3 installments for 20 computers for the engineering lab as part of the whole robotics and engineering program that we have. So I need your permission to enter into this lease. And this is one of those, similar to the TV studio, that it'll be good to lease so that we'll always make sure that the technology is current. And in in the 4th year, we can be getting state-of-the-art computers and keeping current with the latest technology. There you go. I told you.
Questions, comments?
Mr. Burke has a lot more interesting.
I know.
Sorry.
Just one question. It's for 20?
Yes.
HP Elites?
Yes.
Okay.
And each annual payment is $9,177.05, which actually is less than the quote because there'll be value when we turn them back in.
Yes.
This is time sensitive, that we need to vote on it tonight?
It is, please.
Okay.
Okay. So could I have a motion for the computers?
Yeah, I will move to approve the 20 HP Elite 1 1000 G1 all-in-one Core i5s, which are $1,450 each, for a total financing amount requested of $29,000 for 5 years.
3 years.
Excuse me, for 3 years.
To what company?
To
Hewlett-Packard.
Hewlett-Packard.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Say motion carries.
Okay. The last item in the reports and discussions is the first reading of policies, but this is not necessary because it was voted on in November 30th of 2017. So check that off. And now we have subcommittee reports. To start off, I would just like to remind everybody on the committee that the superintendent's evaluation is due by June 8th to me. Sooner the better, but, all right. Are there any other subcommittee reports? All right. Superintendent's report?
I'll try to be quick. I'll try. We had, this is time of the year that we are having a series of parent coffees. We did this at the beginning of the year, and I met with a group of parents Monday morning, and Robin joined me. We had 6-ish parents there and had a great conversation that ranged from school safety to homework at the elementary level and rigor of the courses, and just questions about the future of Chatham Elementary School. But it was a great conversation with a number of parents who have joined me before. We will be having a little coffee and conversation here in the library tomorrow night at 6:30, and we will on next Tuesday at Harwich Elementary School, 7:45 in the morning, and then the following Wednesday after graduation, we'll have on June 6th an evening coffee conversation at the middle school at 6:30 p.m. in the library. And I've emphasized to folks that you don't have to have your child attend that school. Find the time and place that works with your own schedule. Other dates for the committee to keep in mind, I know Grace Boyle mentioned graduation is a week from Sunday on the fields in front of the high school. We'll see in the next few days the big white tent going up, so we know it's graduation time. So 2 p.m. on Sunday, June 3rd. Just before that, Thursday evening, May 31st, is convocation in the auditorium. That's at 6:30 p.m., and that's where we'll have a lot of scholarships presented to our seniors from different community organizations that are supporting us. We are still in the process of exploring possibilities with Head Start and possibilities for how can we best use the classroom spaces that we know are going to be open at Chatham Elementary School. I will be meeting tomorrow with Ann Colwell, who is the head of Head Start for this area of Massachusetts, to just sort of look at spaces and get some more understanding of what Head Start could bring to a community in terms of supports for families. And Robin will be taking a boat over to Nantucket. Nantucket had put Head Start into their schools recently, so she'll be talking to both folks with the program and the school administration to how that's working for them and their situation. So again, very much an exploratory piece, but just trying to be sensitive to the needs for families for quality preschool supports and the availability of preschool for families in our two towns, which we seem to have a fairly considerable wait list for that in our two towns. And then, last but not least, I'll distribute this to the community. We're going to host a little retirement celebration for what I refer to as the Big Three, which would be Blanchard, Susco, and Hine. Now Principal Hine will be having his own celebration with the Harwich Elementary staff, but I have convocation kind of butting up against that, and I want to have the opportunity to roast each of these people, especially Sam, who has given us so much material over the last 5 years. We would like you to join us at Mooncussers Monday, June 18th, and there's a little, call it an invitation that we'll be sending out to one and all. Oh, by the way, Barbara, we're having a little party for you.
Here's your invitation. Oh, man.
Yeah, just wait, Carla. I've got some goodies for you, too.
All right, Dr. Blanchard, safety in numbers.
I would be afraid. Very, very afraid.
That would be it for the superintendent's report.
Okay,
Oh, and
thank
Barbara, it looks like you need to bring $35 for a gift for Carla, but not for yourself.
Okay, thank you. And,
Donna, just a question for
yes,
for the
Mr.
doctor.
Russell.
The people that showed up for the 4 will be going to the coffee shop. I'd be interested to know if start time, which we're finishing a full year on, has been or will be a topic of pluses or minuses.
So
It's such an issue with us a year ago.
Yeah, so at least for this conversation, it did not come up at all. Although I did not ask, but it was sort of, what concerns do you have? And that for this set of parents, it didn't come up. It was part of the conversations at the beginning of the school year, and that was sort of right on the cusp of it happening. And I think the theme would have been for the vast majority of families that came, it was working well for them, even though it was very new. So I'll ask at the next 3 and have that be part of the conversation.
Okay, moving on then for the action items, declaration of surplus equipment.
Go ahead and say Ms. Long. She's very good at that job.
I haven't done this in a while, but I'm happy to take on the task to make
So
things
moved.
easier on Mrs. Richardson tonight. Declaration of surplus equipment. I move to approve the disposal of surplus materials from the Monomoy Regional School District as follows. From the current location of the Slim Gym Closet, workout room, the ice machine, 1, and just a note that we have a working, running ice machine in the OTPT room. I move to dispose of surplus materials from the Monomoy Regional School District at Chatham Elementary School, 14 netbook mini 100Es, 4 monitors, miscellaneous, 9 desktops, 1 HP, 1 desktop DC 5100, 6 keyboards, approximately 16 adapters or chargers, 6 hubs and switches, miscellaneous, 1 cow, large white,
Since for computer on wheels, it's not a real animal.
Not black and white.
12, stay focused, 12 wireless access points. And I believe that is all.
One second. Fine work.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Including the
Motion.
cow.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Then say.
Motion carries. And the next thing would be the computer lease agreement
Did
for
that.
engineering.
We already
Computer.
did that one.
Yeah, that's what I was processing. All right, we need to vote on the Chatham Elementary School Improvement Plan and Handbook that was discussed last time. Yes,
I was checking with my
yes.
guide over here. I would move to approve the Chatham Elementary School Improvement Plan and Handbook as presented at our last meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And, oh yeah, the school committee handbook. And just happened to have one.
You got a hand?
Yes, Ms. Dow?
I wasn't at the last meeting, so there are two things about that. One is we need to go back and open up the accepting the minutes, because I just noticed that on the minutes it had the two Steves absent, but not me. So that should change. And also, I didn't hear what the discussion was on that. I had a question on it. Should I do that first before we go back into the minutes?
So why don't we make a motion and a second, and then we can discuss it? Since it's not in the
Okay.
reports and
Oh,
discussion.
make a motion to pass the handbook?
Make a motion and have a second, and that would open
Okay.
up discussion.
Do I have a motion for that?
You already had a motion.
We had it.
Oh, no, I was saying we should make a.
Read at the May 10th, 2018 meeting.
I would second it.
Now we can open.
Now
So
we can say
now,
any discussion.
Regarding the school committee handbook, I wasn't here for the, any discussion, so I'm just unclear. It looks, you handed it to me.
Yes, ma'am.
And it looks like it's just policies.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there a reason we want to put in just policies and not anything much else?
Yes, Mrs. Scott?
Because it was one of our goals to accomplish this year, I thought that it would, A, be important to finish up a school committee handbook. And when I did my research on other handbooks, Donna and I, Ms. Richardson, Madam Chair and I, worked together and to discuss and looked at other examples across the state of handbooks, and this is exactly what other handbooks look like.
Really?
Is just pulling together the school committee policies, or the policies that are related to the school committee from our policy manual.
Okay.
So
Just
that's
looks
the
strange.
purpose,
Okay.
or that's
So
my
that's
reasoning.
it. Okay.
All right, time for a vote, or any more discussion?
Now vote.
All right, so all those in favor of passing the Monomoy School District School Committee Handbook?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll
Motion carried.
I'll abstain,
One abstention.
Okay, motion still carries.
yes. Now,
All right.
Ms.
Madam Chair?
Oh,
I'd like to move that the minutes that we accepted earlier be modified to reflect that I wasn't in attendance on it,
okay.
and that's all.
I'll second that amendment.
Do we vote to, okay, all in favor of the change in attendance?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right. Well, I didn't need the defibrillator. But,
You did very nicely, Madam Chair.
Before closing, Nancy, I just wanted to thank you for the leadership you've given this past year. You have given very hard act to follow, but I'm appreciative of your help and guidance, and stay tuned.
I'm watching you.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
You slow down, gentlemen. Slow down.
Adjourn to executive session pursuant to MGL 30A, Section 21, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining agreement and negotiations and non-contract job description, and coming out for adjournment only.
Aye. You need to say aye.
Second.
Roll call.
Oh,
Roll
yeah.
call vote.
Oh, sorry, I'll second that.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no, you know what? I'm just jumping the gun.
You are. You just,
Yeah, move.
Yeah, we need to have the gun jump.
So moved. She can't.
Second.
There we go. Now I'll say aye.
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 So now we're in executive session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Good night.